Welcome to Vuln Vibes. Today we're diving straight into something pretty critical. It's a newly disclosed, unauthenticated denial of service vulnerability affecting Windows deployment services.
Yeah, and this isn't just theoretical. We're talking about something that could remotely crash enterprise networks. It's quite serious.
Exactly. Our focus is on the analysis by security researcher Zhiniang Peng, who found this early in 2025.
Right. The core issue is a remote zero-click DoS. It can basically knock WDS servers offline in, well, minutes.
So let's unpack how this actually works and, why it really demands your attention if you're in IT security.
Okay, so the vulnerability is located in Windows Deployment Services, or WDS. Specifically, it affects the TFTP service.
TFTP, the Trivial File Transfer Protocol. That's used for PXE booting, right? On UDP port 69.
Precisely. When a client tries to PXE boot, network boot to install an OS or something, WDS creates what's called a CTFTP session object.
Okay, a session object for that client connection. Sounds standard enough, so where's the flaw?
Well, the flaw, and it's a big one, is that there seems to be absolutely no limit on how many of these CTFTP session objects the WDS server can create concurrently.
No limit at all.
Really, none that Peng could find. So an attacker can just exploit this by flooding the server. They send loads of forged UDP packets.
Forged packets, so like faking connection attempts.
Yeah, exactly. They can just make up random source IP addresses, random source ports. It's not difficult to script this.
And each fake packet forces the server to create one of these session objects.
That's the mechanism. Each UDP packet hits port 69. WDS thinks, oh, a new client. Spins up a CTFTP session object.
And if there's no limit, the server's memory just gets eaten up trying to track all these phantom sessions.
You got it. It leads straight to memory exhaustion, denial of service, and Peng actually demonstrated it causes a full system crash.
He tested this. What were the results like?
Pretty dramatic, actually. In his test setup, I think it was a Windows Server Insider preview, standard 8 gigs of RAM, the server crashed in less than 7 minutes.
Wow. Under 7 minutes from just crafted UDP packets. That's concerning.
It is. And maybe even more concerning is how easy it is to pull off. Peng showed you can basically do it with simple scripts. He even demoed it from an Ubuntu machine.
So not some super complex exploit requiring specialized tools. Anyone with basic network scripting knowledge could potentially do this.
That seems to be the case, yeah. Which makes Microsoft's response quite interesting.
Right, let's get to that. Peng reported this, when was it? February 2025?
Reported February 8th. Microsoft acknowledged it by March 4th. But then on April 23rd, they came back and said they wouldn't be issuing a patch.
No patch. What was their reasoning?
Their statement was that it, quote, doesn't meet the bar for security service.
Doesn't meet the bar. For a remote, unauthenticated, zero-click DoS that crashes the server. That seems surprising.
Ken was certainly critical of that decision, and you can see why. He really emphasized, this is a zero-click remote DoS. It directly impacts PXE boot environments, which are pretty fundamental for a lot of enterprise deployment workflows.
Absolutely. If you rely on PXE booting via WDS, this is a major headache waiting to happen.
His argument is basically that this kind of vulnerability definitely warrants a security fix from Microsoft.
So, with no patch coming from Microsoft, what's the advice? What are the immediate implications?
Well, Peng's recommendation was pretty blunt. He essentially said, to save your PXE network from this threat, do not use Windows Deployment Service.
Stop using WDS if you need reliable PXE booting. That's quite a strong statement.
It is, but given the lack of a patch and the ease of exploitation, it forces organizations using WDS for PXE to seriously reconsider their strategy. They probably need to look at alternative deployment methods, and quickly.
It really highlights the risk of relying on network services, especially ones that might have, let's say, less common attack vectors like resource exhaustion.
Exactly. Resource exhaustion can be incredibly disruptive, even if it's not about code execution. This whole situation, it kind of underscores the difficult decisions vendors face with patching priorities.
And also the vital role of security researchers like Peng in finding and flagging these potential threats, even when the vendor response isn't what the community might expect.
Absolutely. It forces everyone to think about the inherent risks in the tools and services they depend on.
So for all of you listening, especially if you manage infrastructure relying on WDS for deployment, this vulnerability, and crucially the lack of a patch, should be a significant concern. You really need to evaluate your exposure based on Peng's findings. Think about whether WDS is critical, and if so, what your contingency plan is.
It definitely brings those vulnerability management challenges right to the forefront.
So what are your thoughts on Microsoft's decision here? How does this potentially impact your own deployment strategies? It's definitely something worth digging into Peng's research further and considering the wider implications for your network security posture.